Let's talk about a very crucial topic that is necessary in order to be able to build a WordPress theme, and that is the WordPress template hierarchy. Very, very important. But before we delve into the hierarchy itself, let's first of all talk about a few pointers, and the very first one here being that more than one template can be used to display the same content. Now, as an example, the page.php, we know that page.php is typically used by WordPress to display contents for a page. Keep in mind, though, that it's not just the page.php that is only used by WordPress. WordPress can use other template files to display contents for our pages. Keep that in mind. And then secondly, index.php is the default template for all content. So whenever WordPress cannot find a more specific template, WordPress would always default to using the index.php. Index.php is the fallback template for all types of content. Now, the template hierarchy itself is a system that WordPress would use to determine what template is used to display a specific type of content. So going back to the very first point where I said more than one template can be used to display the same kind of content, the template hierarchy is what WordPress will deploy to determine which template file will first of all be used, and then if that template file doesn't exist, it will then jump on to the next template file, and so on and so forth until it gets to the index.php. That's what this template hierarchy is all about. Let's move on. WordPress uses a query string to identify the template that is used. What is this query string? Well, the query string is information that is contained in the URL of the web page. And over there we have an example, tascopedia.com/blog/category/books. Merely looking at that URL, WordPress already knows that this link, this URL, is pointing to a category with the name of books. And it knows that because it has inspected the URL and it sees category right there. Now, WordPress, to determine the kind of template that is used, WordPress will first of all match every query string to a query type to decide the type of page requested. We just saw an example. So WordPress will first of all determine whether or not this link, this URL, is pointing to a post, if it's pointing to a page, if it's pointing to a search results page, if it's pointing to a category page, and so on and so forth. That's the very first thing WordPress will do. Once WordPress has been able to determine the kind of page being requested, it will then search for the template files with specific names in the theme directory, and it will then use the first matching file as specified by the hierarchy. Let's take a look at an example. Over here we have tascopedia.com/category/books. How will WordPress determine the template file that will be used to display the content of this particular URL? First things first, WordPress would look for a template that matches the slug of the category, which in this case is books. If you don't know what slug is just basically the name. Okay, slug can be used interchangeably with name. So right now we can see that the category, the name of this category, or the slug of this category, is books. So first of all, WordPress would look for a template file called books or category-books. Okay, if category-books.php is missing, WordPress will then use the ID. Let's just imagine that the ID in this case is 7. WordPress will then look for a template file named category-7.php. Okay, so we can now see the hierarchy forming. First of all, it searches for category-books.php. That doesn't exist. Okay, category-7.php is next. If category-7.php is missing, WordPress will then search for the generic category template, which is category.php. If category.php is missing, WordPress will then check for archive.php. And if archive.php is missing, finally, WordPress will resolve to using the index.php. Don't worry, in the very next video, we're going to I'm going to show you a real life example so that you will understand this better. But I want to show you this image right here to give you an idea of the template hierarchy for all types of pages. Now you can see we have the 404 page. We have search, taxonomy, home, attachment, single page, category tag, author date, and archive. And then you can see the very first type of template file that WordPress will search for, and then the next, and then finally look towards the right of each line. You can see index.php, 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 index.php every single time, because index.php is always the default template file WordPress would use if it cannot find a more specific template. So going back to the example which we just had with the category, you can see for category we have category-slug, category-id, category.php, archive.php, and then finally index.php. This is how the hierarchy works. This is how WordPress determines what template file that is used to display the contents of a specific URL. Join me in the next class where I will show you a real life example of how the template hierarchy works.